what I've engineered so far, I'm very likely to fail. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is an Allroad that I've been trying to restore over the last month or two. And today we're working on something very interesting. So when I bought it, this car came with C7 S6 seats, which are fantastic. They're very comfy and they give you a good amount of support. Problem is that clearly they're not meant for this car. So they're approximately 10 years newer than the car is. And because of that, as you can see, they're not very well secured. The previous owner did weld them a little bit. So this driver's seat is a little more secure than all the other seats, which were literally just thrown in and they have zero support to them whatsoever. But bottom line is that we have to come up with a seat bracket situation for this. So as you can see, the current situation here is this pipe over here is the bracket that the previous owner has put on. Well, not a bracket, it's literally just a pipe that was bolted into this, and it's holding on for its dear life. That over here is the OEM seat bracket from the stock seats, which was pretty much just bolted into the stock rail from these aftermarket or newer car seats. And then we can see some welds over there. Once again, they're just using this angle iron that they welded to the seat rail, which is welded to the stock seat rail. Basically, first of all, the seat is way too high. Currently, I believe this is the lowest it will go, and it also leans back, and it's not possible to lean it forward more because of the fitment issues. So the angles don't really work and they're not too comfortable, not to mention the fact that they're not fully secured. And here's the thing, I have never welded in my life. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Here's a better look at the situation. So these are the C7 seats, and this is what the rails look like. So from factory, they would just literally bolt down to the floor of the car and you're good to go. The C5 brackets are a bit different. So you have these two rollers that will slide around in the rails in the car. And then up front here, we have this bracket right there, which will bolt into this bracket here under the dash. And these are the rails in which those rollers would slide in. So in order to remove these seats, they're actually pretty easy to remove. All you have to do is take off the two bolts here, and then the seat slides back, gets out of these rails, and you can pull it out. So we have to come up with a way to make the C7 seats work with this configuration. By the way, this here is my parts car that I'm going to be getting rid of pretty soon. So what I've engineered so far, what I think my solution is going to be, is take these rollers. I cut this off of one of my spare brackets that the previous owner of my Allroad had welded to these seats. Here's the remainder of it. Here's that pipe. This is the passenger seat bracket. That pipe that he had welded to this guy. And then I just chopped these off from right here. So what we're gonna try and do is weld this guy over here. And then the same thing on the other side. So we will retain the stock rollers. And then we're gonna come up with a solution for this bracket that would sit in front of the seat. I'm thinking I might be able to weld in a flat piece of steel here and then mount this to that or do something along those lines. So again, never welded in my life. I'm very likely to fail. Literally, right there is my brand new, still unpacked, $70 Amazon welder, which might suck. A little info on this welder is that I actually found it on YouTube. There were professional welders testing out cheap welders, and they were actually very impressed with this one. Obviously, it's going to be very different in the hands of a professional. I'm going to do my very best, and we're going to see how it goes. Because I don't really want to permanently weld this to the seat rail and risk messing the seat up by doing so, what I think I'm going to try and do is utilize this hole in the rail that's already pre-existent, and then weld this bolt to the roller and have it bolt in right there and have it secured by a nut. I think that should work. I think it's going to be, this is a big thick bolt that should be able to handle whatever stresses it needs to. And I think this is going to help us keep the seat a little down. It's not going to cause that high lift that previous owner's solution was. So let's prepare our little workstation here. Got gloves, There are TIG gloves. I hope that's not a problem for regular welding. I have no idea what I'm looking at here. And here's our tiny little
itty bitty
welder. I'm sure experienced welders, if any of them are going to be watching this, they're going to be losing their minds right now. Okay, so this here is for TIG. We're not going to be needing that for now. And then I imagine this is our ground, and this would be what holds the rods. Oh, this is going to be so much fun, isn't it? So I imagine red plugs into red, black plugs into black. The rod goes in here, and that's about it. That's about all I know. Okay, this guy's now plugged in. I've set the helmet to the darkest setting, and we're gonna start from there. And also, yes, I'm fully aware that this is a terrible idea to do it on a piece of plywood, but this is all I have. I don't really have anything, any metal tables or anything meant for welding on it. We're gonna put our ground right here, and then we're just gonna do a little bit of a stick and poke, I suppose, and see what happens. So for this, I'm using E6013 rods. It's like semi-universal type of rod based on the research I have done. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm pretty nervous. Literally no idea what I'm doing here. I've seen some videos and stuff, and I've done some research, but not enough. Okay, so we're just gonna do a little boop, boop. What is going to happen when I turn this on? Okay, the fence turned on, so something is working. So I suppose we're just gonna go to like the medium setting, 70. Okay, so I think currently the sensitivity is just too high because it keeps flashing in my eyes. Oh my God, this is so scary. Okay, so nothing happens, cool. I mean, I don't see any other options on here. The only things I can change on here is the mode from TIG to stick and temperature. I mean, this is just a current. Oh, okay. So something had happened. We made some contact. It didn't really melt anything. You can see there was next to no penetration, but we got a little spark. I'm definitely surprised by how much pressure I had to apply to get it to do anything, and I wonder if that's because I need to raise the temperature. So I'm at like 104. At least I'm not getting shocked, so that's a good thing. Cool, cool, cool. We certainly melted this bad boy a little bit. And yes, another reason for welders to hate me is the fact that I don't have one of those special hammers, and I don't have a brush, so we're using my angle grinder attachment and a regular hammer. The good news is that the weld is holding on, and it's also a little hot. How long do you think it's going to take before this thing catches on fire? I do have a fire extinguisher right there, so at least we have that. I should try and weld this bolt to this bracket. Luckily, I have used a grinder before, so at least we should be able to handle that. Let's see, can I make this work? Let's see. I guess I don't have to have a clamp on here now. Let's see how good our welds are. Okay, not very good. Which is very, very expected. It's really cool though. I'm very much enjoying this because it's like buying a new toy, you know, and it's my first time playing with it. I can't help myself but jump every time. Okay, I slightly redesigned my workstation. Big word for this, but yeah, we just have a couple of wheels under this plywood, and because I realized that I need to be able to see this a little closer. I was really scared of it at first, and I was staying far away, but we got to overcome our fears and try and get in a little better so that we actually see what we're doing. Ah, burns. It went in my shoe. Okay, yeah, that's what I was afraid of sitting so close. I just want to get to the point where I'm not scared of this thing. Okay, here's a closer look at what we currently have and what we managed to achieve today. I mean, I think this here is pretty secure. This corner over here looks like we got good penetration on both the bracket and then the bolt itself. Can't say the same about here. As you can see here, I just kind of melted the bolt but didn't get it to attach to the bracket. Something I really don't want to mess up is the location of these rollers. Some good news is the fact that one of the rollers has a little bit of play in it, maybe like ½ an inch of movement, and so we don't have to be completely spot on. We have a little bit of play, but we still don't want to rely on that too much. But between the edges of the rollers on each side, we have 55.5 centimeters or almost 22 inches. On our new seat, these are the holes we're going to utilize for our new bolts. At the center of each one, between the center of each one, we have 48 centimeters. So we have 7.5 centimeters is where we want the edge of the roller to be, which means that we want each edge of the roller to be exactly 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. So we want each roller to be about 3.75 from the center of the bolt that we're going to put on. So after taking those measurements, I came across my first little setback. Initially, I was thinking to put the bolt right around this area. I thought it would work. But after taking the measurements, I realized that I need the bolt to be a little closer to the roller, meaning that it would overhang here, which isn't ideal. I mean, sure, I could try and weld inside of there, but I don't think that would be the best quality weld, and I don't think I would be able to get it to hold as well as I want it to. So what I think I'm gonna do is, I don't know if you guys can see it on the inside, this square that actually holds the roller to it is simply welded to the bracket. So if I just grind off these stock welds, this square should be able to come out along with the roller, and then I would have this here that I can directly weld to the bolt. Here we go, we got it out, and this is what I was talking about, the little square. So this here is the side that is going to be getting the bolt, so we got to clean it up a little bit so that the welds stick to it. We want to make sure that we have that 3.75 centimeters from the edge of the roller to the center of the bolt. Here I fucked up. Look at these ugly babies. Little baby welds. Yeah, they're not pretty by any means, but should hold pretty good. So I'm just gonna stick that in there. Something I didn't check is whether or not this nut would fit between the little sides of the rail, because it looks like it might not fit. Once I do have this bolted down all the way, I will definitely test the strength of the welds by just hitting it with a hammer a couple of times and seeing what happens, because we do want these to hold pretty well. And I'm not gonna go completely crazy with it. It's holding good enough. Yep, I'm satisfied with this. Okay, let's try and do the other side and test our fitment. As you can see, I'm not really penetrating into the bolt. You can see the little gap between the bolt and the welds. And then the opposite thing happened here. We have penetration into the bolt, but not into the bracket. So I just gotta try and get in there. Here's a closer look at the second bolt. Listen, I realize they're very ugly welds. No doubt about it. But in this case, first of all, this is going to be under a seat. Nobody's ever going to see this. Secondly, we need functionality. We don't need appearance. And this this is holding. This, I don't think this is gonna break. Like, I'm keeping it in mind the fact that this needs to hold up if a car is in an accident, and it needs to be able to hold a person in place. And I actually have full confidence in this. I think I penetrated both into the bracket and the bolt, in some places more than others, but it is strong enough and it is gonna hold. So let's reassemble this, put this into the seat, and test fit. Our goal here is to have those two wheels that we just welded on to fit into these rails right here. We're not off to a great start. It looks like we're a little short, but once again, we're gonna try and count on that little swiveling wheel that can go back and forth a little bit to extend out and get on top of that rail. Oh, so close. It seems that I slightly miscalculated, and well, it's probably less of a miscalculation, more of a poor execution, but the wheels are sitting a little too close to each other, so we want to spread them out just a tiny bit, maybe like a quarter of an inch or so. And for that, I think I'm just gonna use some washers right here between the wheel and have it sit out a little further. Let's see if this one's gonna fit. Oh, that's perfect. Look at that. So it's about, I don't know, 1/8 inch thick, something like that. So we're gonna throw this guy on this side and two smaller washers on this side. By the way, I'm being somewhat intentionally rough with the seat brackets when I'm moving the seat around, and that's pretty much just to test my welds. If they can survive all this, then I think they'll be perfectly safe inside the car. Perfect. And this is exactly the result we were looking for. Both wheels are in the rails, and the seat is free to move around. Here's the driver's seat that already has a somewhat done seat bracket by the previous owner. It was certainly not finished, but it is there. Hopefully that's not going to interfere with our plans too much. But yeah, I mean, they didn't clean these welds, so I know I suck at welding, but this stuff is still super dirty. They didn't even try to clean this up. But looking at this, we can definitely tell why the seat was sitting so high up. I mean, you're adding all this bracket here, which basically makes the seat sit like a solid, I don't know, 8 inches higher than it should be. All right, so luckily we do have a completely stuck seat so far. Basically, we can follow the same procedure as we did with the passenger seat. And again, all we need to get rid of is this guy over here, that guy over there, then this and this. Okay, I know you guys have been dying to see more welding, and well, here it is. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I feel like welders are some of the most judgmental people out there in terms of judging other people's work. I've been part of these Facebook groups where welders are just basically talking crap about other people's work consistently. That's all they do. Luckily, in this case, I'm fully aware that my welds are complete crap. Okay, like I know that they're awful, but again, this is my first time welding, so if anybody's about to go in the comments and talk crap about my welds, try and remember what your first welds look like. I'm not very happy with these welds on the first one. The second one turned out pretty good. So as you can see, this one here turned out pretty bad. We have some major porosity over here and there and there. I'm really not happy with this. I don't like it, and we're gonna grind it off and try it again. Here's what it looks like after using a wire wheel on the slag. These sides definitely don't look too good, but this one and this one look more or less okay. Okay enough to hold it. A quick visit to a hardware store. We have some supplies, and you guys will be happy to find out that I bought an actual brush and an actual chipping hammer. Here is some welding steel that we're going to use for making our front half of the bracket. So this here is the front of the driver's seat, and between these two rails we have 20.5 inches. I'm going to cut the appropriate length of this piece, and we're going to drill 2 holes in it that will correspond with these 2 holes in the rails, and we're just going to bolt them down to the rail. And then this piece is going to be welded on to this bracket. So something I learned pretty recently is the fact that whenever drilling metal, you want as much pressure as possible with a very low speed. So if you're wondering why am I going so slowly, that's exactly why. And the cutting oil is being used for keeping the temperatures down and keeping your drill bit from burning out. It's not completely perfect, but it works. Tighten both of these bolts. My next priority is to find out where I need to place the bracket that will mount to the bottom. This is the OEM bracket that needs to be right here. I feel like currently, with it being right on top, that's not going to be the best solution, because the front of the seat is going to be lifted up a little too high, and I don't think we want that. So I might have to trim this down, because theoretically the top portion of this is pretty useless to us, and all we need is just this bottom portion where the bolts actually mount the seat to the car. This is a little risky. I really can't mess this up because I only have 2 of these, one for each seat. These lines is where I intend to make the cut. I'm making this little opening here the reference point, because we really want to retain this piece because it slides into the bracket inside the car. As you can see, there's little openings over here. This is supposed to slide in right in there, and that lines up the holes for the bolts perfectly. Cut this ground and this positive, strip them. Now I have this motorcycle battery that has a broken off terminal, but I think I should still be able to use it. We're going to stick our positive somewhere in here. Hopefully that makes a contact. And then this one I just have to shove in there. Let's see, I didn't see any sparks, but hopefully we have... Oh yeah, there we go. Perfect. Okay, that should be enough. Here's the finished product. Don't hate me, guys. I know this is trash, but it holds. It holds good. Actually, I think, yeah, I'm going to be able to do some on the inside too, and I think I'd like to do that just for some extra strength. We get something. Sure, they're not pretty welds, but I think they're relatively strong welds. This one is trash. Don't look at that one. And then we did some reinforcing on the inside just in case. First I need to go in the back and make sure that the 2 wheels go in their rails, and then we're going to push the seat forward up until it hopefully lines up with that bracket. So far I haven't been able to get the bracket to slide in properly. However, I can see that it is very close. So I think instead of messing with trying to get this to line up in this car, I'm gonna call it good. And if we have to do any minor modifications to the to my Allroad and not the parts car when I install these, so be it, and we'll do it then. But I can tell that it's so freaking close. Hey, and if you made it this far in the video, then I feel like it's safe to say that you're sort of, kind of, at least a little bit enjoying this content in one way or another. So if that's the case, please subscribe and help me out with growing this channel so that I can get some proper equipment like a drill press or a decent welder or a welding table. If I have those things, I think I'll be able to give you guys much better content and be a lot more efficient with my time, giving me more time to edit this videos better, giving me extra finances to spend on decent camera equipment, all sorts of other things that come with making this channel. I don't know how much you guys know about making content, but it takes a lot out of you. I spend about half a day each week editing these videos before I put them out. Not to mention all the extra time I spend taping these videos. So it takes me a lot of effort and time to make these videos, and it would be very much appreciated if you could hit that like button, if you could subscribe. I mean, it takes so little effort and it helps me out immensely. And if you already did, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I feel like I should also give a big shout out to these drills. I mean, I'm putting it through quite a lot, and these are very cheap Harbor Freight drills that I bought 2 of for I think like 20 bucks each. Considering the amount of stress I'm putting on it right now, it's doing really well. I wish I was sponsored, that would be cool. Oh, there she is. However, I do have to admit the battery life in these is not that great, which is why I bought 2 of them. So now I have 2 batteries and I can use one while the other one is charging. The cool thing is that these run on 12 volts, unlike many high-end drills, which frequently use 18 or 20 and whatnot. And because these are 12 volts, what I've done in the past is hook it up to a car battery using these leads from a multimeter. I just stick them in there, hook it up to a battery, a car battery, and you can basically use this forever. Hopefully it's not gonna come to that. I'm like halfway done with this drill bit, and then we have to go with the actual full-size one. And I think this battery should be enough. No. Okay, we might have to use that car battery trick because now both of my batteries are dead. I have this male connector, well, 2 of them, and we just plug them right into the negative and then the positive. They fit pretty well in there. Not too snug, but also not too loose. Then I use alligator clips inside of those connectors, just like this. And then I use these probes and connect them to a battery using zip ties or something along those lines. Okay, we got nothing. Okay, maybe this battery is done for. Positive and negative. Let's see. Yep, there she is. Okay. Wow, this is perfect. Okay, so now we just gotta, oh yeah, oh, like butter. Okay, the driver's seat definitely turned out better. Okay, that's the last of these bolts. This guy comes off, and then there we go. Okay, and all we need from here is this guy. I think this is the best one I've done in this video. I think this looks pretty good. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't even know how to look at welds. Some degreaser. Wipe it down. That should do it. So we're not going to be able to utilize our airbag. I am not going to worry about the seatbelt switch slash sensor, whatever you want to call it. So all we have here is the 2 wires for seat adjustment, power and ground. Then we have 2 wires for power and ground for seat heating, and then power and ground for the seat temperature sensor. So here's our bracket. Here's the front. And this is our finished product with the seat in the actual car that it's meant for. And we have the connectors all hooked up, more or less tucked away. I think this will be able to not make any contact with the carpet and that sort of thing. But I'll double check that once the seat is all the way bolted down. So now I just have to line up that front bracket, which I've got to admit is a little harder than I would have hoped. Mainly because our rails are wider than what is intended for this car, and they make contact with the carpet. So I have to try and push the seat down and fight the carpet to slide those little knobs into this bracket here. Let's lift the seat up so that we have some better view of what we're dealing with. So as you can see, this is so very close. We want that to be right in here. This guy needs to slide into that. And I mean, all we need is just enough downward pressure to like sort of collapse this carpet. And that's the only thing that's fighting us right now. What do we have in here? I actually haven't looked in here. Yeah, looks like some sort of a, yeah. Oh, look at that. I have no idea why I haven't looked in this one before. Just to be clear, this is not mine. This is just what came with the car. I don't know if I'm allowed to show this on YouTube. Okay, we're gonna we're gonna throw this out. I don't partake. Back to our original task. It would be way easier with two people. If you have one person pushing it in from the back seat and the other person pushing it down up here. So the one thing I could have done better to avoid this issue is to not cut off as much off of this bracket here. Remember how I made it less tall? I think I went a little too far. And now we have this interference between the bolt and the rail with this. If this was a little more elevated, we wouldn't have this problem. Okay, so here I have some longer bolts. As you can see, they're about a 1/4 inch longer than the stock bolts for the seats. And I'm gonna try and use these to pull the seat in by threading them in. We are gonna have to be pretty careful with this. I don't wanna strip it. I'm gonna sit on the seat to bring it down. Give it a few spins, see what happens. Oh, look at that. That's actually working. As you can see, it's sliding right in. Maybe not as perfectly as I wish it was, but it's working. However, I am gonna add some thread lock. Blue thread lock to be more specific. Boop. Boop. Might be a little too much, but it's better to have too much than too little, I suppose. That's about as far as we need to bolt it down. So without further ado, the seat should be completely ready to go. And now it's time for the ultimate test of my welds, as well as first let's see the seating position. Honestly, this is already pretty comfortable for me. Oh yeah. So before, one of the issues I was having was that this I don't know, what is it called, upper leg support right here, it was interfering with me pushing in the clutch. It was just a little in the way. That was like the lowest setting. Now I can perfectly well reach the clutch, gas. Awesome. Yeah, no, I mean this is basically like it would be stock. Most importantly, I have to check if this is safe. What do you guys think? Is that a pass? I think it is. And this is comfy. This is really comfy. And we're still gonna have to test whether the heated seats work, but I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't. It's a pretty simple wiring situation. So on that note, I think we're done for today. I really appreciate you tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and subscribe. Thanks and have a good day. Oh, and yes, I am gonna do the passenger seat, but you guys don't need to see that. It's the same process.